Hi, everybody. My name is Alex Asher, and I am the CEO of LearnCube. And today we're going to be talking about how to choose your niche. But I'm actually really so stoked to be joined by Michael Gibben. Michael, do you want to tell the crowd here just briefly a little bit about yourself, just so they've got an ear for you?
Sure, Alex, thanks. So my name is Michael Gibben, and I'm the founder of Coach for Tutors. And my experience is I've been a classroom educator. I've also been a tutor, private tutor. I've also founded a tutoring company and worked with that company for over 8 years. And now I've moved into a consulting role where I help private tutors and tutor company owners with launching and scaling their tutoring businesses.
Michael and I do this, or have been doing this a few times now. And what we really like is helping, particularly in this case, those teacherpreneurs or those that are really starting out with their businesses. Like, how do you find your marketing feet, so to say, so that you can really find some direction and ideally build up your business. So I'm going to be presenting initially, and then Michael's going to be taking over. So today we're going to be talking about how to choose your niche and how to find your ideal clients. Now, we're going to be breaking this up into two different sort of sections, myself taking on the first section and then Michael taking over from there. But as part of that, I really wanted to tell you a little bit about my story and how I got here, because I think that's really relevant for you listening in. So I'm the CEO of LearnCube. We offer a virtual classroom and online school solution for teachers, but also particularly for schools and I guess larger businesses as they grow. And the experience that I hope to bring here is really, many years of actually not just being exposed to our customers who are, as I say, sort of language and tutoring businesses, but particularly in terms of co-hosting both our Get More Students podcast and our Get More Students webinars. Both of these are focused on helping language and tutoring companies improve their marketing. And that's what I'm really going to be drawing on today. Just in case you haven't seen LearnCube, we offer both a virtual, well, three things really. The virtual classroom, which is made for teachers and tutors. And this is just, effectively, this is like a professional all-in-one solution, but really focusing on the delivery of that class. Whereas our online school Lite also includes the scheduling, past classes, reports, and a whole lot of features that really are designed for teacherpreneurs that really want an all-in-one solution, including payments, but don't need to be able to manage other clients or other tutors. And then we have our online school premium, which is really for those with multiple tutors. So this is our product range, and I think it's relevant, particularly for those that are starting out, partly because a lot of people are asking, what can I use from a technology perspective and how do I grow? And that's the thing that we're trying to answer today, is actually how do you grow? And Michael, tell us about yourself.
A lot of what I do is helping tutors with establishing what their goals are, working together as a team to figure out the short-term, medium-term, long-term goals to help their business, whether they're a private tutor with 1 or 2 students, or they're a tutoring company with several tutors. Just helping them through those initial pieces. I work best with tutors that have been in business for either in pre-launch stage up to the first couple of years of tutoring. And I also wrote 2 ebooks recently, one related to the 10 plus steps for the successful launch of your tutoring business, and one for the 10 plus steps for successful growth of your tutoring business. And just really helping to provide that roadmap and that guide map for how to go to the launch stage of your business and then beyond, taking it to that next level where you want to take your business to really grow it and excel.
So I definitely recommend both those resources, partly because if you're starting out, having those roadmaps is a really key resource. So definitely look up those resources that Michael's listed. Today, I'm going to be focusing on a couple of things. The first thing is really understanding, why are people here? And one of the major reasons that people are here is because they're facing some challenges. And if you're starting out, your main challenges are actually acquiring new customers. Much more so than actually the technology side of things. Like which virtual classroom you choose is not really the most important decision that you have to make when you start. It's really about getting enough customers to be able to have a business in the first place. And the reason that people find that they have a challenge when it comes to attracting new customers is around marketing, but more in particular is they feel like the competition is fierce and they don't know how to compete. They feel like, I'm kind of offering a similar or the same service, so how do I stand out? And sometimes it's also around price. They feel like they're getting undercut by other competitors, or those that are either in their local area, or they could even be international companies that are doing online tutoring and language tuition. So again, those are the two areas that I know the best. And I've really wanting to talk about what are some solutions and how do you kind of get your foundations right. So the first thing is to choose your niche. And actually, I really love this image because I think it gives you an idea of that sense of being same, and competition. Everyone's going after the same target. Whereas, particularly if you're a new business, you don't need the world. You don't need the entire market. Often, you're just looking for 20 great students that you really can help and you can build your business on. That's all it really takes to be able to found your business. So you don't need a massive niche. In fact, you just need a small enough niche that you know where to find those customers, and you know where to find those customers better than anybody else, ideally on the planet. So another reason that the niche is so important is it defines your strategy. Think of your niche as the fundamental decision that you have to make before you make any of those other decisions. Now, the reason I say that is because your niche will help you, and actually that fits into the market. So we've got 4 different petals here talking about the market, your business, your product or service, which could be your tutoring, and then your marketing. But really where that all comes together is finding what is that right market and what is that right fit for you. So every single question you have about marketing will come from whether or not you've chosen the right niche. It also impacts the stories that you tell. If you think about marketing as, in essence, particularly if you're not advertising, you're actually telling stories about yourself, your brand, and your business. So again, if you know your niche, you know which stories are going to be important to them. You're also going to know what to say and what not to say, what language to use and what language not to use. Do you want a sound kind of formal and distant and let's call it professional and maybe a bit aloof? Or do you want to be very friendly, very much like, I understand you as a person? And I think those are really very different strategies, but they all come from the central point of choosing your niche. The other thing that the niche impacts is your price. It naturally makes sense. Like if you know who you're serving, you're going to be able to choose the price that both people can afford, but shows the highest value to the user. And I really love this quote for when it comes to pricing, because again, that might come up as a question later. But really, pricing is simple. Customers will not pay a penny more than the true value of that product or service. So whatever you're delivering, you can justify any price as long as you're offering value. The only reason people won't buy your product or service is because they don't see either the perceived value or the value that you're actually delivering. So all of this comes from choosing your niche, and that's what I'm really going to be talking about in the rest of this little prezzo. So firstly, how do you choose your niche? The first, I really kind of think about 3 different points to really help you steer your thought process. The first one is your geography. So do you have a natural sort of country or city kind of advantage that you can use? So for example, if you live in a rural town, you are probably going to be in a great position to serve that rural town. Now, unfortunately, it might not be a big enough market for you, but you have a significant strength in serving, if not that town, then other towns like it, because you might understand that that particular location, but particularly because trust comes in the form of proximity. So we often trust companies much, much more, the ones that are in our home city and otherwise our home country and otherwise our region, or sometimes there's even a demographic and cultural reason why we feel more trust towards one company over another. So these are all ways that you can start, write some of those down now about, my country, my city, my demographic, my culture that I can really talk to and better than anybody else. The second thing I'm going to be talking about or wanting you to think on is the expertise advantage that you have. Do you have any skills or experience or expertise that really define you as quite unique. And again, I think what you're trying to do is think about it like a lock with this niche. What's the combination, that unique combination that nobody else has, that you can provide and vocalize and articulate better than anyone to your particular niche? And the demographic and cultural and language advantages is another area that you can look to for how to choose your niche. So let's say you go for a broader niche, you can bring that right down and narrow it down and speak better than anybody to that niche, maybe by language. So for example, I'm living in a very big city in London, but if I spoke only Norwegian, I mean, my market is so much narrower, so much smaller, but nobody else in London is going to be speaking to the Norwegian market like I could. That's just an example, but you might find whatever that balance point is for you, where you can feel like you can get your 20 students, but having a small enough niche that you can really completely separate yourselves from the competitors or others that are maybe serving a similar kind of market. So those are just some examples. And one of those I think of is helping international families with young children. So again, thinking about what the age of your tutoring or language student is. Living in Scotland, maybe not just the UK, but part of the UK. Like, how can you be more and more niche without, I guess, completely making yourself so it's so obscure that nobody would be able to find you? But that's part of that balance. And I would say that most people err on the side of being far too generic, far too broad, and too scared to make the important decisions about what your niche actually is. So next, I'm going to be thinking about where to find that niche. So we've talked about what that niche might look like. Well, now you have the clues of where to find them. So if you know geographically what your niche is, well, where do they live? What kinds of accommodation do they live in? How can they stumble across you? So if your niche is, super high end, well, it might not really work. For example, even an offline kind of mechanism like a flyer drop, maybe that's not going to work for an ultra high end kind of customer. But for a lower end customer, like community notice boards and those sorts of places might be perfect places for you to find those initial customers. Likewise, what are their interests? And again, how can they bump into you while satisfying or looking at those interests? So again, languages, or being new to a city, or being interested in hiking or running, or interested in more like a professional skill like sales or dentistry or whatever. Those are all possible stumble upon areas that you can satisfy if you look out for them. Languages, I think, is a fantastic example where communities hang out. People love to speak their own home language, regardless of where they are in the world. Even a New Zealander like myself in London, we naturally meet so many other New Zealanders because we have an affinity. Even though our language is English, our language is really New Zealand English. So there's always things that you can use to your advantage that really make you define your audience and your niche and help you really stand out and really solve the problems that I was talking about with competition, that sameness, and even pricing problems. And these give you the clues where to find those audiences. So one example could be targeting ads to Facebook groups. You can also look at those that have languages spoken. You can look at expat groups. You could look at SEO around particular areas or interests that that your niche will be looking for. So those are all examples of like where you can find your niche online. And then in person, you can also find your niche, whether it be using direct mail, you can use flyer drops, you can use posters, you can find partners, you can find schools, real estate agents. Like, look for people that also have a really big vested interest in the same community. Now, one of the things I would say is, even though it's really attractive for new teachers to look at a geographical niche, I would also really, really encourage you to think about something other than a geographical niche. Why? Because geographical niches can be easily undone, particularly if you're offering online tutoring and online language tuition, which is becoming more and more common. So what you also need to really think about, or the thing that's going to drive your business to that next level and the level after, is if you can find a niche that is both online and ideally in person too, because then you have both sides of the coin that you can kind of go after. So those are the key ideas from me. And I'm going to be passing this back to Michael, who's now going to be talking about who are your ideal clients and how can you find them.
So the next step after you have your niche and you're working on carving out that niche piece is to consider who your ideal clients are. And your ideal clients, it is really a threefold process when you're selecting your ideal clients, whether you're working with adults, whether you're working with children. I mean, all three of these pieces do come into play. So the first part is commitment. Do you have the same commitment for learning as yourself? Do they have the same commitment for learning as yourself? And that's very important. So what that means is, are they saying to you, I only want to do an hour a week of ESL or an hour a week of entrance exams. That's study. That's all I want to do. But you know that they would need more than that. Or they say, well, I just want to do studying for a week. I just want to study for this test and I'm good. But you're looking more for long-term connections and longer-term clients. So just think about, does that commitment align? Because that's important in terms of making sure you have the right person for you and they feel they have the right person for them. Something as just a cautionary piece for commitment as well is there's been a little bit of over the years this notion of guarantee, of providing a guarantee to your ideal clients of a result. And that's just a piece to really think about in the back of your mind. Like, for example, I promise I'll give you an A+ within the first month of working with me, or I promise after 10 hours with me, you'll go up a grade level. So it's just things to think about there. What are you guaranteeing to clients before you start? When you set up that commitment, are you going to put a guarantee? Because again, with a guarantee, if you're working with children, you're 1/3 or 1/4 of that puzzle. And if you're working with an adult directly, you're 1/2 of that puzzle. So it's just something to be really careful about with the commitment. What are you committing to? Is it setting goals? Is it customized lessons? Are you planning a guarantee at the end of your package with them? Like, what does that look like when you're serving your ideal client, when you're helping to solve a problem with them? What does that look like? So the next piece would be goals. So do they have similar goals in mind? So when you're working with an individual, it can be an adult, it can be a child, youth, any of those pieces. Do they have similar goals for their child in terms of academic results, confidence building, study skills, like whatever that piece is, just right from the start, having that dialogue with your tutoring client and just seeing what they're looking for in terms of the goals and what you're offering, and just see that syncs, because it can create a lot of stress if a family's like, well, I want my child to get A+ and I just care about them memorizing everything they learn. And you might get a family like that. You might also have families who say, you know what, I don't care what the grade is right now. I just want them to feel confident and comfortable learning English. I just want them to feel good about that. So that's where that comes into play. And you have to think, okay, are my goals that I have for my vision for my tutoring company, how I want to help my clients, is it in tune with that in terms of the goals? So it's always great to check in to what are the goals of your clients so that you can best serve them and help them to succeed and grow as learners and grow as people as well. So it's the commitment piece, the goals piece for your ideal clients. And the last one is one that it helps you to be a little selective with who you select. It can be really exciting to get that first client or those first few clients. I found this piece very helpful with my tutoring business in my first year. I was happy to take any client. I was just so excited to have a tutoring client. And I felt that this third element would have been very helpful if I had been cognizant of it, because there was moments where it was difficult to connect with the client, because not of anything they were doing wrong per se, or I was doing wrong. It just wasn't the right fit. Is a personality piece. Sorry, let me go back here. Personality. And by personality, what I found really helpful to really gauge how I tutored a client, or how when I hired tutors in my second year, making sure that they could best serve the right client, was doing something called the DISC, D-I-S-C. The website's called Personality Insights, and it gives you the chance to do a very short 10-15-minute assessment of adults or youth or children or yourself, and you can assess not just what motivates them, but how do they learn? What are their short-term skill sets? What are their longer-term skill sets they need to develop? What are their strengths? What are areas that, that they have difficulty with? And it helps you create a profile for your student. Be it, like I said, be it, if they're 6 or 60, they have different ones for different age groups. And it can really help you to establish for yourself, is this my ideal client? And if it's a mismatch in personality, maybe they're more blunt and dominant and you're more that soft-spoken, more of a flowing type personality, how do you mesh those two together? Not saying that if there's a mismatch, in an assessment that you don't work with them, but it's just think of how you can best serve them and what you can do to best work with them. If you find that there's a bit of a personality discord, how can you mend that? And how can you help to work on that together and build that connection meaningfully instead of potentially having a struggle? So those are the 3 areas to really think about when you're wanting to serve your ideal clients. Again, doesn't matter between ages 4 and 40 or 60 and beyond. Commitment piece, make sure that commitment piece is aligned. The goals you have set for the client and vice versa, what they have set for, what their expectations are, and also personality, like what kind of personality is this client that you're potentially working with, and how can you best work with them to help serve them and make the best experience. And if you have another tutor that might be a better fit for this particular client, potentially that might be a good move. But if it's a smaller thing that you can amend and you can fix, think of how you can make it work and just continue to build that optimal relationship with the client. So the next part here, before we go into our next portion of today's workshop, is just an overview of 5 ways to turn prospects into eager clients. And I found that these 5 they worked across the board, whether I was working with children or adults. I found they were very beneficial. Is at the start of your meeting with a client, because this is not a financial transaction. This is a relationship you're building. And it's really about how to take your time to cultivate that relationship meaningfully for the client and build those solid connections that'll help lead to more clients coming to you. And that'll be the way it can pay forward. Is start with a customized assessment for your new student. Get to know what their needs are, get to know what their goals are before you meet with them for the first time. Really get into a deep dive of that. And then you can help customize that assessment so that it's really about what their needs are, and you can really pinpoint what they know and what they need guidance with. And also, usually, if it's a child or a youth versus an adult, it might work, but particularly for a child or youth, get to know what their interests are as well. Figure that piece out, because you can add that into the assessment. And how fun is that? It doesn't feel like a chore. It's an assessment, but it's learning. It's fun though, because it's all about what they like, and that builds that initial bridge of connection and that relationship, so that when you're working with them, it's gaining that excitement factor. Next is provide a small gift to your student after an assessment. So if it's a child, it might be something that they like. So it could be Pokemon cards, or it could be like a mini hockey stick, or something, just, stickers, something like that. If it's an adult, it could be maybe a 10+ strategies to learning level 6 of an ESL piece. It could be something like that, something related to that. It could be, like a 10 must-have strategy guide, or something to give to them as a bonus, just something really exciting for them. So it just makes them further, galvanized to want to work with you, because you're providing that extra step for them right from the start. Really taking that time to continually ask questions and active listening, with the potential new client. Just keep asking those questions. Don't worry about the pricing and the program until after. You just really want to get the questions and get to really know all they want to achieve with you. Get to know that, then take the time to share your customized programs with your ideal clients and your protocols and pricing, all those pieces after that, and really get them excited and have the client's needs top of mind. And something that I found helpful with pricing, because I always, initially when I started, I was nervous to go to the pricing part. I was like, oh, great, the pricing part, that's always going to be dreadful. And I found incorporate it into a package. Make it just part of a package. It's part of this journey you're going on with this client. So it's not for 1 hour of my time, it's $55 or $60 an hour. Instead, it's saying, hey, for this, customized tutoring package, this is going to be the program. This is what we're going to achieve with your child, or as an adult, this is what we're going to achieve together. And this is the cost for our one, or this is what the package would cost for our program, or this is the rate, or however you want to word it. But take them on that journey and then share the price piece toward the end. And that helps to excite them again and not make it so much about a financial transaction. It's building that relationship. And next day follow-up I found was so beneficial. Share the assessment results the next business day. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me yesterday. You know, a good thank you note as well, appreciation, provide those results efficiently and effectively, and give them some information about that exciting next step. That can really go a long way to building that excitement for when they want to sign up with you. So that's a little bit more about how to nurture your ideal clients into becoming your ideal prospects, into becoming your eager clients. So I just wanted to share that. And these are some really good questions as well that we'll go into right after this. We'll go into questions. Those are some really good ones that have come up in the chat. So before I go to that, well, let's do our questions first, and then we're going to do breakout rooms after that. So Amina, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Amina asks, if it's online, what examples of gifts do you suggest? And if others would like to chime in, please, by all means, you can please unmute and chime in or type in the chat box. An example of online, you could do a customized gift card. It could be online. It could maybe be a trial subscription to a really fun learning website if it's for children, like lots of bells and whistles on it. And it's a lot of fun and it's a highly recommended site. Maybe provide a trial for the family for that. It could be a gift card if it's an older student, something like an Amazon gift card or something like that. If it's an adult, it could be a PDF of like your must-have strategies. So again, it's all online, but it's relevant to who they are and what they're wanting to achieve. If it's a teenager, it could be even just something like a goal tracking exercise that could be fun and related to maybe an app that's a must-have or something like that to make it more relevant versus a pencil paper for them. So I hope that answers your question.
Michael, on that, just I'm curious as to whether you put it in line with your own service, partly just because it can kind of create a stepping stone, I wonder. But again, you've got the most practical hands-on experience in tutoring. What have you used for gifts? Is it around your ebooks, or did you have ebooks for tutoring, or like how do you go about this?
Right. So for coaching, I have a resource page of activities and PDFs, but for the tutoring side, I found most effective. Most of my students were elementary school, and I found just providing them with it was in person, so a small gift related to their interests. But as it was online, I found certificates were really great based on their interests. It could be a fun certificate. It could be, like I said, a trial for an app. I really love that as well.
Awesome.
It's not a minute.
Yeah, and so Dana, you posted about you're thinking about this package with discounted rates for bulk packages. So what do you have in mind for discounted rates? Like, what are you thinking in terms of a longer term approach for that? That's a good statement.
Right. So this is a real scenario that actually happened the other day. So this adult ESL student, they asked me specifically about that. And it's not something that I've fully worked out yet. And I was thinking, okay, well, he wants to meet 5 days a week, possibly. He said his employer is reimbursing him for these lessons. And so I said, okay, well, right now, I do it just by the hour. But if you wanted to talk about a large package, that would be more like 10, 15, or 20, lessons at a time. And so I said, okay, well, maybe what would be reasonable would be, okay, 5% for 10 lessons, 10% for 15 lessons or 20 lessons, something of that nature. And I told him that we can discuss it during I have a free consultation with him tomorrow morning. And I said, we can work something like that out. Technically, this would be his company, so I guess that could also potentially, like, if I please them and give them, a nice offer, maybe his company has maybe the company has other people that they could have work with me as well. So
clever idea.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Dana. Absolutely. And I like that you're thinking around the 10% solution. That's a really good number as well.
Dana, from my experience with a lot of language companies, they will offer, as you say, something when it comes to discounting. I think what you said sounded about right, but don't be afraid to go for some much larger packages. I think you'll find if you go in confident, I think they'll appreciate that more. I think rather than going with questions, go in with a position and be okay with negotiating on that. So even if you go at the point, it might seem like only a little bit, but do you have a price point to begin with, Dana?
Like my hourly rate?
Yeah.
I do. You want to know what it is?
Yeah, can I ask?
Okay. It's 50 per hour.
50?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So for example, the reason I wanted to ask that is I wanted to understand which side of the ledger you'd sort of started. So first of all, 50 I think is a great amount. And quite frankly, it's on the higher level, which is great. But it means that, for example, even a small discount, let's say, I think even that would be 4%, you would go from 50 to 46.
Mm-hmm.
And even just saying 40 rather than 50 has now made you seem cheaper than the actual kind of difference. So you may not need to discount yourself so much, but for example, you might have a 50, 45, and 39. Even though there's not a huge difference in those total numbers, they feel very different numbers. So you can play with those. And don't be afraid to play with bigger numbers. So to get $39 an hour with me, you really do need to commit up front for 100 classes. And then you can kind of talk about, when I'm offering this 100 class package, the idea is that we're actually going to be doing this over 3 months. And at the end of that, we're going to have your next level, which is kind of something that I know that's really important to you. So you can combine those two things with also a bit of an outcome as to why they should go for that 100 classes. And you can kind of convey that actually that's a great strategy because it shows that you're going to get a long-term and a real outcome rather than just sort of playing around with your language.
Right.
Yeah.
Exciting.
And kind of off what was being said there as well, Dana, it's just thinking about maybe in lieu of the word discount, maybe like a special rate or something like that, because discount might, at least from experience, when I used the word discount in my first year a lot, it really devalued what I was doing because people saw it as more, discount deal, so it's just thinking about what the word discount means maybe, and just considering, could you do an alternate word that still gives them that special, that piece that they're looking for, but it doesn't devalue the wonderful service you're providing.
I thought about that too. I thought about whether maybe it could be an introductory rate, but see, that's the thing. If you give them an introductory rate and then it goes
Very
back
hard.
to something, then I don't know how well that would be received. So
yeah, it's very much a ratcheting system, unfortunately, with pricing. It's very hard to go back up once you've set the price.
Right.
But that's why I think what Michael was saying is also a really good idea, this idea of not calling it a discount. You're calling it, we have different plans. So you can go back to a different plan if you wish after those 100 hours. You might start on our gold package, which is 5 classes a week for 4 weeks. But then you might be going into our silver package after that, which is only two hours a week for 4 weeks or something like that. But definitely, please get paid up front. Don't get caught up in this idea of going invoice wise. It gets really hairy and it's never fun trying to get the money.
I have an auto pay thing going on.
Okay. Cool. Subscription?
It's, you mean the system I'm using, or you mean
yeah, all I mean is that,
to me?
yeah, are you doing the service first and then they pay, or do you get paid first and then you deliver the system?
Yeah, so I have it set up where they get the invoice on Thursday, and on Friday they're auto charged.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Great. And that's before you've delivered the service?
Well, no, that's after. It's after, but it's on auto pay.
So the only problem with that is that they can still, at the end of that, dispute it and or just give you the wrong card or not have enough money in it. It's very common for people to be paying up front. And like, I think particularly with this business customer, you'd be totally within the norms and standards to be asking for that up front.
Right. Yeah, this is a little different than working with just a parent directly, because my reading student, the parent set up the card and all of that, and there's more of a closer relationship with as opposed to a business. I would treat it differently.
Yeah. No. Anyway, thank you for letting us share on that example. I think it was a good one.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
My concern is when it comes to the whole social media thing.
Okay.
Well, I do have a Facebook page, that was created some time ago, and I've actually gained followers and stuff when I was posting content, but I kind of pivoted a bit. And not that I'm not doing ESL anymore, because I am, but I started focusing on another niche, which was the reading, because I'm actually a licensed teacher. And so I had stopped, basically, I haven't been active on Facebook. And the only kind of content that I was really comfortable or willing to create was blogs. Like, I'm good at blogging and writing, and I was getting people commenting on my site, which is under construction right now. So there's like roadblocks when it comes to the whole social media thing. And just feeling like, okay, well, what kind of content am I going to be posting? My website's not together yet. So it seems like I really can't be on social media right now. That's what I kind of feel like.
Okay. Is there a concern with not being on social media? Like, do you feel like is that kind of like the limiting factor to getting your business to that next level? Like, what do you think?
Not really. I mean, I'm not really sure. It's just that whenever I think of marketing, because of the social media era that we live in, that's the first thing that comes to my mind, even though there's other ways to get yourself out there. So I always have this weight on my shoulders, like, well, I'm not on social media like other people are. So, I feel like I should be, even though I'm not quite ready to. I don't know if it's important because I'm focusing on so many other areas right now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it depends on also, I think, the size of your business as well. Having that online presence, because you can still do referrals, testimonials. Google reviews are really great and are less of that regular social media presence, because it's kind of a one and done. They're posted and then they're out there, and it increases your algorithm in Google.
Right.
But you can also, there's joint ventures could be very, very beneficial for you as well, just partnering up with other companies in your community and that work with similar niche to yourself. And that can really help to build connections and within the community, so they can refer people to you and vice versa. And the cost is time, not any money, or you know what I mean? Like, just, yeah. So that's a good way. And also just as well, business networking can be really powerful as well. Networking within business networking groups can really help build your business, especially at its start. It can really help it to take off, Dana.
Right.
Yeah. And like the commitment would be a couple hours a week, but it's very invaluable, a couple hours, because you'd be networking with other professionals, and you being, like, for example, I was part of Business Network International. They have chapters all over the world, and I was part of the Toronto chapter in Ontario, and I was able to triple my business with them in my first year with them, just by showing up a couple hours a week, getting to know everybody, building those relationships. And that I found that quite beneficial, more than any Google ads I did, or Facebook ads, or posts in the community. I found that was really the most beneficial piece, was the networking piece.
Right. Which I'm doing with other teachers and tutors, and with just other individuals. I'm doing that. So.
Okay, awesome. Are you with any parent or guardian, like parent, family, guardian? And you also work with adults. I know a lot with adults. So do you have any ESL groups that you're part of in the community, or?
Well, when it comes to like Facebook, I'm not in, well, yes, I am, but it's with other teachers. There's 2 groups that I'm in, that I've been in for a while. It's comprised mostly of ESL teachers that worked for companies. Then I'm a part of one where they're all independent, and they're not just ESL. There's so many different other people in there that I've networked with. I was once in an ESL group for ESL students, but it was just weird because they didn't want you to promote, which was fine. But when I would they offered for me to be like a mod or something. And from what I remember, I would just share, because I was learning Spanish at the time. And so I would just kind of connect with people on that I learned the language too kind of thing. But whenever I would post something, they would never approve it. And so I just left the group, because it seemed like it was just a waste of time.
Right.
Yeah, so but I'm in a private tutors group that is specifically for, and I'm kind of new to it, specifically for parents and teachers that are looking for one another.
Okay, yeah, it's like a matching service, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you joined Qualified Tutor yet?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so it's a community. There's over 7,000 individuals in the community that are mostly tutors. And it's an incredible community, a supportive community. You can, for example, you can post if you're looking for certain things, you can post in that community and vice versa. They will share with you and provide that support. And yeah, it's a wonderful community in terms of just networking and getting to know people. And if you're looking for a certain grade in a certain subject or a certain student, you can actively share that you're looking.
Okay, I'm gonna look them up. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, if you'd like, actually after today's event, I can send you an invite from the community if you like directly, and it'll send you into the hub directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michael, is that one on social media, or is it a kind of website in itself?
So it's here. I can share with everybody here. I have the share screen on. So it's this here, Qualified Tutor Community, and it's just a space for tutors to gain training, inspiration, guidance, support. And they have, just thousands and thousands of members, and it's a really solid community. They've been around for a couple of years now, and I'd be definitely happy, Dana, to share with you that link, and Emily as well, if you'd like. I can share the link with both of you after today's webinar. So I want to thank everybody for coming in today. It was great to have all of you here, and we have some bonuses for you. So I'll put the link in the chat, but if you subscribe at coachfortutors.com, there's the 10 must-have fall marketing tips to help getting some marketing strategies for the fall, and also both ebooks in the store. We have a special exclusive promo code for everybody here today. So the promo code is LC15. And these have different, for the launch, there's a lot of, there's excerpts of both books in the store as well to view. For the launch, we have information on marketing strategies, sales objections, contracts for client tutor contracts, ideal client niche as well as part of that book. And for the growth piece, there's a lot of information about joint ventures, networking, hiring tutors, training contracts, tutor contracts. All those pieces are available for you as well. So the promo code again is LC15 for today for all of you who attended today. That is part of our bonus. But thank you so much for coming out today. And Alex, did you want to share anything as well?
Yeah, please go to the web. I've just put the link there for you. But if you were to go to that link, please sign up for a free trial. If you really like LearnCube, get in touch with us, and I'm sure we'll be able to upgrade you as well if you want to try it for a little bit longer. But yeah, if you're starting out your own business, definitely also tap into our knowledge. I also provide a lot of information on the LearnCube YouTube channel. We have a great service there. It's all free videos that we record. We have a Get More Students podcast that we run on a bi-weekly basis. You can find it on Spotify and Podbean and anything else that you're looking for. So it's called Get More Students, and it's a podcast on marketing and particularly helping people just as yourself. So I hope that either of those resources can be really helpful for you.